The sound of rolling suitcases and hurried footsteps filled the late evening air at Los Angeles International Airport. Neon signs flickered, boarding calls echoed overhead, and the scent of stale coffee lingered in the terminal. Detective Michael Callahan adjusted his jacket as he stepped past the security cordon. The tape marked, "Police line, do not cross." A group of passengers craned their necks, whispering and snapping photos with their phones. "Another abandoned bag," he muttered, half to himself, as his partner, Detective Sarah Mitchell, joined him. "That's the third one this week," Sarah said, tucking a loose strand of auburn hair behind her ear. "But this one?" TSA flagged it for something different. They approached Gate 47, where a black, mid-sized hard-shell suitcase sat on the linoleum floor. Its zipper was slightly torn, a frayed baggage tag hanging loosely. "Passengers cleared out?" Callahan asked the airport security officer. "Yes, sir. We evacuated the gate just in case." X-ray showed something unusual, the officer replied, avoiding eye contact. Mike crouched down, eyes narrowing. "Whose name's on the tag?" "Ethan Price. Flight from Zurich, 3 days ago. But he already cleared customs and left." Sarah raised an eyebrow. "So why's his suitcase here, now?" "That's the million-dollar question," Callahan murmured. A bomb disposal robot had already checked it, no explosives. With a nod from the technician, the detectives carefully opened the suitcase. Inside, the air felt heavy. A white dress shirt, soaked in dark, dried blood. A handgun with a silencer, wrapped in a scarf. A pair of latex gloves, smeared with something dark. And a small black USB drive, taped to the lining. Sarah broke the silence. "No clothes, no toiletries. Just this." Callahan slipped on gloves and lifted the gun. Serial number scratched off. Typical. The airport lights flickered for a moment, as if echoing the unease. "No body, no report of violence on any recent flights," Sarah said, scanning the manifest on her tablet. "And Price, pilot, frequent flyer. No criminal record." Callahan's phone buzzed. A text from his captain. "Keep this quiet. Handle it off the books for now. Too many eyes." Mike exhaled sharply. "That's not a good sign." Sarah frowned. "So this isn't just about lost luggage?" "No," Callahan said, staring at the blood-stained shirt. "This is a message. We just don't know who it's for yet." Behind them, a janitor pushed his cart past the cordoned area, glancing briefly at the scene. His eyes lingered too long on the suitcase before he looked away. Mike noticed. "Hey!" Callahan called out, flashing his badge. "You! Stop!" The janitor froze. Sarah exchanged a quick glance with Mike. "First lead?" "Maybe," Callahan replied, his voice low. "Or maybe just someone who's already seen too much." The janitor was in his late 50s, wiry and tired-looking, with a faded Dodgers cap and rubber gloves still clinging to his hands. His name tag read, Carlos Mendez. "Relax, we just have a few questions," Sarah said, her tone calm but firm. Carlos shifted from one foot to the other, his gaze flicking toward the suitcase. "I already told security, I didn't touch it." Callahan crossed his arms. "Didn't ask if you touched it. I asked why you were staring at it like it owed you money." Carlos hesitated. The terminal buzzed behind them, passengers being rerouted to other gates, the PA system announcing a delayed flight to Denver. "It's just. I saw a man drop it off," he finally said. "Couple hours ago. Looked nervous. Kept checking his phone." Mike leaned in. "Describe him." "Tall, white guy. Mid-30s. Dark jacket, baseball cap. That's all I got." "He moved fast." Sarah jotted notes. "You didn't call it in?" Carlos shrugged. "Bags get left all the time. You call everyone, you lose your job for slowing the schedule." Mike frowned. You remember his face? Carlos shook his head. No. Just the cap. Yankees, I think. Figures, Callahan muttered. Sarah pressed on. Which direction did he go? Down the service corridor, near gate 49. Maintenance access. Callahan and Mitchell exchanged a glance. Show us, Mike ordered. The corridor smelled of disinfectant and old coffee. Dim lights buzzed overhead as Carlos led them past mop buckets and vending machines. A side door marked authorized personnel only hung slightly ajar. Callahan drew his flashlight and pushed the door open. Inside, empty crates, cleaning supplies, and a faint smell of metal and chemicals. Sarah crouched. Footprints. Fresh. Callahan spotted something near the trash chute, a torn piece of fabric, black nylon, and a crumpled baggage claim receipt. He bagged it. Looks like our friend didn't come here to clean floors. A sudden clatter echoed down the hall. Mike spun around, gun half drawn. Who's there? Only silence. Carlos stepped back. I don't want no trouble, man. You already got it, Callahan said, his jaw tight. This isn't just about a suitcase anymore. Sarah's phone pinged, a message from airport security. Ethan Price located. Heading to Terminal C for questioning. She showed it to Mike. Pilots in the building. Mike's eyes hardened. Then this just got interesting. The interrogation room was cold, its fluorescent lights buzzing softly overhead. Ethan Price sat across the steel table, hands clasped, posture composed but tense. He was exactly as described, tall, well-groomed, with the kind of effortless charm that came from years of greeting first-class passengers. Detective Callahan dropped the evidence bag on the table, the blood-stained shirt and the gun. Ethan's eyes flicked to them, then back to Callahan. I've already told your officers, my luggage was lost in Zurich. I filed a claim. Sarah Mitchell leaned against the wall, arms crossed. And 3 days later, it turns up here, full of blood and a suppressed firearm. Quite a coincidence, Mr. Price. It's Captain Price, Ethan corrected, forcing a thin smile. And yes, quite a coincidence. But I had nothing to do with that. I've been flying cargo routes since I landed. Callahan studied him. Where were you last night? Red eye to Dallas, landed this morning. We'll confirm that, Sarah said flatly. Ethan exhaled. Please do. Look, I know how this looks, but I've been in the air for most of the last 72 hours. I haven't even been near this terminal since Monday. Callahan picked up the USB drive with a gloved hand. This was taped inside your suitcase. Any idea what's on it? Ethan shook his head. No. I didn't put it there. You travel a lot, Callahan said. Easy for someone to slip something into your bag while you're moving, huh? Ethan's jaw tightened. Is that a theory or an accusation? Neither. Yet. Sarah stepped forward, sliding a photo across the table. A still frame from the airport camera, grainy, timestamp just hours ago. A man in a dark jacket and baseball cap, wheeling a suitcase toward gate 47. Ethan frowned. That's not me. Hard to tell with that cap, Callahan said. Looks like Yankees, your team. Ethan hesitated. I don't own a Yankees cap. Convenient, Sarah muttered. Callahan closed the evidence folder. Here's the deal, Price. We've got a bloody shirt, a gun, and a suitcase with your name on it. Someone wants us to think you're involved. You have enemies? Ethan gave a hollow laugh. I'm a pilot, detective. Half my life is spent telling people their luggage didn't make the connection. So yeah, I've got enemies, just not the kind that leave bodies. Sarah caught Callahan's glance, a subtle, unspoken he's hiding something. Mike stood. You're free to go for now. But don't leave the city. Ethan raised his brows. I have a flight in 48 hours. Cancel it, Callahan said coldly. Or we'll cancel it for you. When he left, Sarah quietly said. He's lying. Callahan rubbed his jaw. Or someone's setting him up. Either way, that suitcase didn't walk itself here. Sarah's phone buzzed again, a message from forensics. Blood on the shirt, female, late 20s, not in any database. Gun fired recently, no fingerprints. Mike's eyes narrowed. So, no victim. Yet. Sarah tilted her head. Or we haven't found her body. The hum of the surveillance room was almost hypnotic, rows of monitors flickering with endless loops of passengers, gates, luggage belts. Detective Sarah Mitchell rubbed her tired eyes as the technician rewound the feed from gate 47. There, she said, tapping the screen. Pause. 1842, 2 hours before the suitcase was found. A grainy figure in a dark jacket and Yankees cap appeared. The man paused near a bench, set the suitcase down, checked his phone, and looked around. That's our guy, Callahan muttered. Zoom in. The image sharpened slightly, revealing a strong jawline, a trimmed beard, and a restless glance. Not Ethan Price. Too broad-shouldered, too young. Run facial recognition, Callahan ordered. The technician nodded. Might take a while, lighting's garbage. Sarah leaned closer to the screen. Wait, he's not alone. The footage panned slightly, catching a woman in a long beige coat standing near a vending machine. She didn't approach him, but her gaze followed him with surgical precision. Callahan's brow furrowed. She's watching him. Look, she waits until he leaves, then follows 10 seconds later. The technician played the next camera angle, the man disappearing down the service corridor, the same one Carlos had mentioned. The woman, still distant, adjusted her scarf and vanished after him. Sarah crossed her arms. Who is she? Accomplice or witness? Callahan exhaled. Or handler? Look at her posture, she's not lost, she's hunting. An hour later, facial recognition pinged back a result for the man, Nathan Cole, 34, minor record for smuggling electronics, no known violent history. No current address. Small-time runner, Sarah said, scrolling through his file. Doesn't scream, contract killer. Callahan tapped the screen showing the woman. What about her? The system returned nothing. No matches. No name. Ghost, the technician muttered. Either she's clean, or someone wiped her. Mike turned to Sarah. Get airport customs, find out if anyone matching her description came in from Zurich. Beige coat, mid-30s, brunette. Sarah already had her phone out. On it. As they left the surveillance room, the hallway lights dimmed for the night cycle. Callahan's phone vibrated, an encrypted message from an unknown number. You're looking in the wrong terminal. Gate 12, 3 a.m. Come alone. He stared at the message, jaw tightening. Problem? Sarah asked. Yeah, Mike said quietly, slipping the phone back in his pocket. Looks like someone wants to help, or bury me. The newsroom of the Los Angeles Chronicle was nearly empty at this hour. Only the glow of desk lamps and the hum of old coffee machines kept the place alive. Detective Sarah Mitchell hated being here, journalists were vultures, in her book. But this one had insisted on a private meeting. Rebecca Lane sat on the edge of her desk, a half-empty espresso beside her, fingers drumming a restless rhythm on the wood. She was striking, sharp brown eyes, dark hair tied in a loose knot, and the kind of confidence that came from walking into rooms full of men who underestimated her. Detectives, she greeted as Callahan and Mitchell entered. I was starting to think you'd ignore me. Callahan didn't sit. You said you had information about the suitcase at LAX. Start talking. Rebecca smiled faintly. Straight to business. Fine. The suitcase you found, it belonged to a woman named Laura Bennett. 29. Freelance translator. And a friend of mine. Sarah frowned. Friend? Because the luggage tag said Ethan Price. Rebecca shrugged. Then someone relabeled it. Laura disappeared 3 days ago after landing from Zurich. No calls, no texts, nothing. Her family filed a missing person report, which your department somehow misplaced. Callahan's jaw clenched. You're saying we lost a missing person file? I'm saying, Rebecca replied smoothly, that someone made sure it never got processed. Mitchell shot Callahan a look. This was bigger than a lost suitcase now. Where does Ethan Price fit in? Callahan asked. Rebecca leaned forward. Laura was bringing something back from Europe. Documents. Evidence. She didn't tell me everything, but she was scared. Said if anything happened, her contact was a pilot, Price. Callahan's eyes narrowed. So he's involved. Or he was trying to protect her, Rebecca countered. You ever consider that? Sarah crossed her arms. Why come to us now? Because whoever's behind this is cleaning house, Rebecca said, voice low. 2 nights ago, I got a message from an anonymous source, don't go to the airport. They're watching. And then Laura vanished. Callahan stepped closer. What kind of evidence was she carrying? Rebecca hesitated, then opened a slim leather folder. Inside, blurred photocopies of hotel invoices, a list of offshore accounts, and a photo, James Holloway, the hotel tycoon, shaking hands with a man whose face was half in shadow. Sarah scanned the pages. This looks like corporate corruption. Not murder. Rebecca shook her head. You think billionaires stay billionaires without blood on their hands? As they left the Chronicle building, Sarah spoke first. You believe her? Callahan didn't answer right away. The city's neon lights reflected in his tired eyes. I believe she's next on someone's list, he said finally. And if Holloway's name is in that suitcase, this case just went from missing luggage to a goddamn war. The motel was a forgotten strip of neon off the freeway, the kind of place where secrets came to die. Room 14 smelled of bleach and stale cigarettes. On the bed lay Nathan Cole, the man from the surveillance footage. His face was pale, lips bluish, pupils pinpoints. Sarah Mitchell scanned the scene. Overdose? That's what it looks like. Callahan crouched beside the body. There was a syringe on the floor, too neat, too staged. Yeah, he muttered. And I look like the Easter Bunny. The coroner's assistant shrugged. No forced entry, no struggle. He checked in alone this morning. Credit card matches his name. Convenient, Callahan said. Sarah found a folded piece of paper on the nightstand, a one-way bus ticket to Reno. Departure, tonight. Running scared, she whispered. Someone didn't want him talking. Callahan glanced at her. Or someone made sure we'd never hear what he had to say. Back at the precinct, the caseboard had turned into a spider's web. Photos of Cole, Ethan Price, Laura Bennett, and the mysterious woman in the beige coat connected by red thread. And now, a dead end, literally. Sarah poured herself stale coffee. This is starting to smell like a cover-up. Callahan nodded absently, scrolling through his phone. His encrypted contact, the one who had warned him about Gate 12, hadn't responded since. The message kept replaying in his head, come alone. The door opened. Captain Harris stepped in, his usual polished smile in place. Any progress on the suitcase case? He asked casually. Sarah hesitated. We've got a lead that points to corporate involvement. A hotel chain owned by James Holloway. And now one of our suspects turns up dead. Harris raised a brow. Holloway? That's a big name to throw around, detective. Be careful. We don't need lawsuits from billionaires. Callahan's jaw tightened. We need the truth. Not PR damage control. Harris smiled thinly. Truth is expensive. And messy. Keep your investigation clean. Focus on the missing girl, not conspiracy theories. As he left, Sarah leaned in. You see that? Yeah, Callahan muttered. I just smelled the rot. An hour later, Callahan found a small envelope slipped under his windshield wiper. Inside, a photo of Laura Bennett, tied to a chair, terrified, still alive. And a single sentence written on the back. "Stop digging, Mike. Or she dies first." The rain had started an hour before dawn, turning the industrial docks into a maze of slick asphalt and hissing steam. Callahan's phone buzzed as he and Mitchell pulled up to the scene, another anonymous tip, same encrypted number. Pier 17. Check the container. Uniformed officers were already stringing up yellow tape. A cargo container, door ajar, stood like a rusted tomb against the gray morning. Lieutenant Perez met them at the entrance. "You're not going to like this," he muttered. Inside, the air was thick with salt and metal. Stacks of old crates lined the walls. And in the center, on a tarp, lay a woman's body. Sarah crouched beside it. Female, mid to late 20s. No wallet, no phone. She brushed wet strands of hair away from the victim's face and froze. "Mike, it's not Laura Bennett." Callahan knelt beside her. The resemblance was there, same hair color, similar build, but this woman was older, maybe 35. Her wrists were bruised, her nails broken. A thin line of blood trailed from her nose. "Strangled," Callahan said grimly. "This isn't random. This is a message." A dockworker stepped forward nervously. "I found the container unlocked when I came in for the early shift. It wasn't here yesterday. Someone dropped it off overnight." Sarah's gaze fell on something beneath the tarp, a fragment of cloth, beige in color. "The coat," she whispered. "The woman from the surveillance footage." Callahan's jaw tightened. So the ghost's not a ghost anymore. Back at the precinct, forensics confirmed the victim's identity: Clara Rhodes, 36, former corporate accountant. Disappeared 2 weeks ago. Last known employer, Holloway International. 2 missing women, 1 dead, 1 still out there, Sarah said, pinning Clara's photo next to Laura's on the board. And both connected to the same company. Callahan stared at the board, the threads crossing like veins of a rotten heart. "They're cleaning house. Everyone who handled those documents is either gone or next." The phone on his desk buzzed, a new message from the same encrypted number. "You're late. Gate 12 was your only chance. Now she's not alone." Sarah read over his shoulder. "What does that mean?" Callahan didn't answer. He was already reaching for his coat. The city slept under a low-hanging fog as Sarah Mitchell stared at the blinking cursor on her laptop. Every file she opened felt like a minefield, one wrong move, and someone would know. Her phone vibrated. A text from an unknown number. "Stop digging or she's next. Watch your back." Sarah's fingers froze over the screen. She glanced at Callahan, who was reviewing airport logs in silence. "It's her," he said, nodding toward the message. "Rebecca Lane. She's in danger." Meanwhile, at a dimly lit parking garage, Rebecca Lane noticed the shadow moving between the pillars. Her instincts screamed follow the light, run the other way. She slipped into her car, but the tires skidded on wet asphalt. Inside the newsroom, she called Sarah. "Someone's following me. I think it's the same people who took Laura." Sarah's voice was calm but urgent. "Stay put. Don't go anywhere alone. We're sending backup." Rebecca exhaled, gripping the steering wheel. "Too late. They know where I am." At the precinct, Callahan and Mitchell traced the surveillance of airport exits. One pattern emerged: someone from inside the department had access to every lead. Sarah slammed her fist on the desk. "It's Harris. He's feeding information to Holloway. Everything we touch, he knows about it before we even act." Callahan leaned back. "We've been played. He's the leak. But we can't confront him openly, he'll vanish into the system." That night, a car sped past Rebecca's apartment. She ducked just in time, seeing a license plate with a faint smudge. A note slid under her door. You're running out of time. Gate 12, 3 a.m., alone. Her stomach dropped. She knew she couldn't ignore it. But neither could she go without backup. Sarah and Callahan debated their plan: stake out the airport, track the mysterious gate, and protect Rebecca without alerting Harris. Every decision carried risk, every step could trigger retaliation. The next morning, surveillance footage showed a beige coat moving through the airport. The mysterious woman, last seen at gate 47, appeared again, exchanging what looked like documents with a man in a dark suit. Callahan squinted at the monitor. That's our next lead. And Harris knows we're onto him. He's probably already trying to cover his tracks. Sarah rubbed her temples. We're running out of time. Whoever has Laura, and whoever is cleaning house, they're accelerating their plan. Callahan stood. Then we accelerate ours. No mistakes this time. Everyone moves together. The airport buzzed with early morning travelers, oblivious to the storm brewing behind its polished walls. Callahan and Mitchell followed the trail of the beige coat through gate 12, every step watched by hidden eyes. Sarah whispered into her earpiece. Rebecca, stay calm. We're on your location. A shaky voice answered. I'm at the waiting lounge. I see someone. 2 men. They're watching me. Callahan scanned the crowd, noticing a pair of suited men keeping their distance yet tracking her movements like predators. They're professionals, he muttered. Holloway's men. Back in the office, Captain Harris intercepted a police radio channel. He smiled thinly, knowing the detectives were being funneled right into a trap. Every move they made was being monitored, every plan anticipated. Harris called Holloway directly. They're getting close, he said. The journalist, she's more clever than we thought. Holloway's voice was icy. Then make it appear as an accident. No witnesses. At the lounge, Rebecca's eyes darted between the men. She ducked behind a row of chairs as one approached, glancing at her phone. The other circled the perimeter. She realized her escape routes were limited. Sarah and Callahan arrived moments later, blending into the crowd. Callahan's hand brushed Rebecca's shoulder. Don't move, he hissed. We've got you. The men froze, realizing the detective's presence. One tried to draw a weapon. Callahan reacted instantly, knocking it from his hand, while Sarah tackled the second. Shots rang in the air, but chaos and the crowd worked in their favor. The attackers fled into a service corridor. Surveillance footage would later show them disappearing into a restricted area controlled by Holloway. Back at the precinct, Sarah spread out the evidence. We know they're cleaning house. 2 women missing, 1 dead, and Holloway has people everywhere. Harris is the mole, feeding him every move. Callahan nodded grimly. We neutralize Harris, we slow Holloway. Protect Rebecca, find Laura. 1 step at a time. Rebecca looked between them, exhausted but resolute. If we don't act fast, Holloway wins. Everyone connected to those documents is either dead or on the way. Sarah tapped a folder on the table. Then we start with what we know. The container, Clara Rhodes, the beige coat, every lead brings us closer. But the clock's ticking. The office lights flickered as Callahan pored over the last set of files. Every document traced back to Holloway International, every transaction layered like a cake of corruption. Sarah joined him, holding a folder labeled Carter Testimony. Alex Carter, she said, spreading the papers on the table. Former military logistics analyst. He worked briefly for Holloway's security team. Says he saw the transfers of the documents, the ones Laura and Clara had. Callahan's eyes scanned the files. So he's credible? Sarah nodded. He knows the system inside out. Every safe house, every surveillance trick. According to him, Holloway didn't just bribe officials, he orchestrated disappearances, controlled airport staff, even had insiders in law enforcement. A secure call connected them to Alex. His voice was low, tense. I saw her. Laura Bennett. She was carrying the files in that suitcase. Holloway had ordered her taken. He's not just hiding financial corruption. He's eliminating anyone who could expose him. Callahan leaned back. So the suitcase, the dead accountant, Clara Rhodes, all part of his cleaning operation? Alex confirmed. Exactly. And Harris? Your mole in the precinct. He's feeding Holloway everything you do. Sarah rubbed her forehead. Then how do we trap him? Alex paused. Holloway's arrogance is his weakness. He's predictable. He wants the documents moved to a private jet tonight. You intercept there, and you have him. Later that night, Callahan, Sarah, and Rebecca prepared for the sting. Airport security had been quietly bypassed with Alex's guidance. The beige coat appeared again, the mysterious woman from earlier, carrying a briefcase, moving toward a chartered plane. Callahan whispered, "Stay calm. Wait for the signal." Moments later, the operation unfolded. Undercover agents intercepted the transfer, capturing Holloway's men. Harris attempted to flee but was caught with incriminating evidence linking him to the leaks. Rebecca clutched the briefcase. This is everything. Laura and Clara's work, all intact. Sarah exhaled. Finally. Holloway's reign ends tonight. Callahan glanced at the boarded-up private jet. And no one else gets hurt if we move fast. The airport was a labyrinth of echoes and shadows, even in the pre-dawn stillness. Callahan and Sarah moved with precision, following Alex Carter's instructions. Every corridor, every service elevator, every security checkpoint had been accounted for. Rebecca Lane clutched the briefcase tightly, her nerves fraying. "I can't believe we're this close," she whispered. Callahan gave her a reassuring glance. "Stay behind us. Step by step. We move as one." They reached the hangar where the private jet awaited. Guards flanked the aircraft, their weapons ready. But Alex had prepared a diversion, a service lift that would leave the main floor briefly unmonitored. Sarah signaled. "Go." They sprinted, Rebecca trailing. The beige coat appeared again, but this time as a decoy, another Holloway operative. Callahan neutralized him with precise force, while Sarah covered the rear. Inside the jet, Laura Bennett was tied to a seat, panic in her eyes. "Detectives!" she gasped. "I didn't think you'd make it." Callahan untied her quickly. "We're not done yet. Holloway's men are still here." The first wave of agents intercepted the remaining guards on the tarmac. Gunfire echoed, but nobody in the team was harmed. Alex guided them through the jet, disabling communication devices and securing the flight records. Rebecca opened the briefcase. All of Laura's evidence, all of it. Bank transfers, emails, contracts, proof of every crime. Sarah exhaled. This is it. Everything Holloway hid for decades, right here. Suddenly, a shadow moved near the cockpit. Holloway stepped out, flanked by his remaining men. "Detectives," he said, voice cold and calculated. "I have to admire your persistence." Callahan leveled his gun. "Holloway, it's over. Surrender now, or you'll face the consequences." Holloway smirked. "Consequences? I've built my empire on consequences. You think this is the end?" The standoff lasted seconds, tense as the calm before a storm. Then agents rushed in, subduing Holloway and his men. He was cuffed, his arrogance finally meeting its match. As dawn broke over Los Angeles, the team exited the hangar. Laura was safe, Rebecca's story secure, and Holloway behind bars. Callahan looked at Sarah. All the pieces, finally together. Sarah nodded. The suitcase started it all. A single abandoned piece that led us through corruption, betrayal, and murder. Justice doesn't erase the cost, but it gives meaning. Rebecca turned to Laura, holding the briefcase. "You can finally breathe. Your fight's over." Laura smiled faintly, tears in her eyes. "Thanks, to all of you. I didn't think anyone would make it this far. Callahan exhaled, feeling the weight of the case lift. Sometimes, the smallest lead turns into the biggest truth. The Los Angeles skyline glimmered under the early morning sun. The city had no idea how close it had come to a hidden storm, how corruption had crept into its veins. But for Callahan, Mitchell, Rebecca, and Laura, the storm had passed, for now. At the precinct, Captain Harris sat in a holding cell, handcuffed, his polished composure shattered. Callahan watched from across the room. He thought loyalty to power would protect him, he muttered. Sarah nodded. Turns out, the truth always finds a way. In a quiet cafe downtown, Rebecca Lane typed her final article. Every detail of Holloway's crimes, every lead from the suitcase to the dead accountant, was laid bare. She paused, sipping coffee, and glanced at Laura sitting across from her. "You're safe now," Rebecca said. "The world knows what happened." Laura smiled, still pale but relieved. "I owe you more than I can ever say." Outside, Callahan and Sarah walked along the jet bridge of a private airfield. The suitcase, now a symbol rather than evidence, sat locked in a secure case. Callahan exhaled. It started with a single abandoned bag. Who would have thought it would lead to this? Sarah smiled faintly. Justice, Mike. Sometimes messy, sometimes bloody, but always worth it. A plane taxied down the runway. The detectives watched as it lifted into the sky, carrying the last fragments of Holloway's empire to a secure federal facility. Rebecca joined them, glancing at the horizon. And just like that, the final departure. Callahan put a hand on her shoulder. The end of one case. The beginning of many more. As the city woke, life continued. But the suitcase, and the chaos it unleashed, would remain in their minds forever. A reminder that even the smallest clue could unravel the biggest deception. The sun broke fully over Los Angeles, shining on streets that had no idea the darkness they had survived. And for those who had fought to uncover the truth, there was a moment of peace, fleeting but real.